of the Tom Kelly Show. And as I do my video podcast and realize my fly is down, you are experiencing a cooking edition of the Tom Kelly Show. And a real cooking edition, as I realize my apartment is just filled with things like empty Cheerio boxes. I feel like I should take my dating picture next to the mini fridge so I look like a giant. I mean, that's the cool thing about being in New York. Everybody has like a kitchenette style kitchen. Yeah, like even the oven. Look at how tall Tom Kelly is. Giant Tom Kelly. Rawr. Oh, I guess people put salt in. No, don't put the plastic in. Trigger warning, spoiler alert. If you want to make a podcast, people, you got to break some eggs. You are experiencing a Sunday morning, 9 a.m. edition of the Tom Kelly Show. People, I just did a really bad version of the podcast with the iPhone, but I wanted to do a cooking show for you guys. I've been working at Rachael Ray for 3 weeks, and I went into working at Rachael Ray like, oh, I'm doing warm up for a cooking show. Okay, I'm the warm up comedian. Let's just make them ooh whenever they say cheese. I always make them clap whenever there's cheese. I think that's a cooking show rule. I don't even know for sure, but that's one I'm implying when I'm doing warm up there. And then there's a moment where you get into, maybe this could be more than a paycheck. Maybe this could be a learning experience. I mean, I actually like Rachael Ray. I'm getting to know her. She's kind of cool. You know, but if we ignore it being a TV show, she's arguably one of the best and renowned cooks of our generation, you know, or chefs, whatever the fancy word is. You know, she has it. She likes to say, oh, no, I'm a regular person, blah, blah, blah. Fine. But, you know, she's a regular person who's cooking for millions of people. And if you listen to her, you know, she has a house in Italy. When she has a party, it's for 100 people and she doesn't cater. She cooks herself, which makes you say, why the heck are you even having a party? But so I went for a big mind shift in the last couple of days of working with her. Instead of just being the warm-up comedian, maybe I could be the guy or a person sitting there trying to learn. And I've learned a few things from Rachael Ray, and I tried to share it on the podcast while cooking an omelet live for you guys. I'll tell you what I learned quick. 1, tomatoes outside the refrigerator. They go bad. They lose their flavor when they're in the fridge. Basil, same thing. Outside the refrigerator, basil loses its flavor. And then you have to make like a basil tent where you put a plastic bag over the basil, put it by the window, put it in some water. It'll keep longer. Fine. 2 lessons learned. Third lesson learned that I applied today was you can put the cover over a frying pan to keep the heat in, and that cooks both sides of whatever you're cooking. There you go. And I guess what we get into is it's funny how over the years, I never really learned how to cook. I really cared about cooking in college. And it's going to sound crazy. Junior year of college, I cared a lot about cooking because I had friends to cook for. I had 6 roommates and it was fun. You know, and also I found when I was further away from home, I wanted to be more Italian. I wanted to be more New York. And yeah, so like I made lasagna a couple of times. I would invite girls who would never ever date me over, whom I had crushes on. I had a crush on 2 out of 3 roommates at one point, and I figured, hey, one of them has to like my cooking. And in the end, no. But I'd invite them over for free food, you know, for food that I would cook. And, you know, it was breaking bread. And breaking bread is a way of bonding, you know, like, you know, I remember one of my first grown-up dinners with my friend Brian Kist, who we talk about a lot on the podcast. We went to Bella Luna. We were grown-ups. We could eat a meal. We're friends, you know, and I've done that a million times since. So with other people. But yeah, it's breaking bread. It's creating a memory. So anyway, I used fresh ingredients that my nephew TJ grew. I used his tomatoes. I used his basil, and then a lot of Mrs. Dash. And I'm going to be honest, TJ, I don't know if you could see this, but I was a little nervous on the cooking show part. Oh, and mozzarella cheese. Cheese makes things better. But yeah, man, I did a good job cooking. So there you go. I'll probably put the B-roll into the YouTube version of this. But I figured why not get crazy and do some cooking and maybe do a mini podcast for you guys. I'm overworked. The weird thing with Rachael Ray is it's a long day and it's not as much money as the game shows, but I'm as tired as after the game shows as I am after Rachael Ray. And it's because they take a long time to do shows. They really care about the cooking there. What's fun about watching her show is she really does cook the meal. They don't do as many of the swap outs there that you see on other cooking shows. Like if you watched a cooking show, The Chew, they did a lot of swap outs. The show was done, if it was a 1 hour show, it was generally done in 1 hour, 10 minutes. 3 days a week, they were live, and then there were another 2 days a week they were pre-taped. Yeah, they might have even been 4 a week live. But they would do the swap outs. Now, for those of you who don't know the swap out, it's like, all right, I put the eggs in, we're going to make the brownies, and then I put it into the oven, and then you open the other oven, and what do you know? The brownies are done. Yay! That's a swap out. Rachael she does them, but not as many as other shows. I once saw her at Good Morning America, and again, this is where she's crazy and really into it, and you could learn from her. I saw her, she was cooking on Good Morning America 7 to 8 o'clock or 8 to 9 o'clock, and she actually sat there in a corner with the audience watching while they did the news in the other corner, and she quietly cooked, so she is the real deal. My God. So anyway, look, let's get back into happy zone, people. I'm gonna cook more, trying to lose weight. It's time, or at the very least, I'm gonna cook more because I kind of enjoy it. We'll figure it out, But the way I describe working at Rachael Ray is, it's kind of like, it was like I was Goodwill Hunting. Okay, I was the janitor around all the math work, and I am going to be the Goodwill Hunting of the Rachael Ray Show, where it turns out, oh my God, that idiot in the corner is the guy who solved the Pythagorean theorem, or whatever the hell it is, Fermat's theorem, whatever the heck it is that Matt you get what I'm saying, the Matt Damon, what he did on the wall, you know what I'm saying, people. All right, so I'm trying to be funny and good looking. That's the one thing I don't like about podcasting, with the video on is, and it's something I need to learn how to get better at, but I keep taking off my glasses. I got the light over there. I got the iPhone over here. I got a laptop over here, looking at the profile of a person I randomly clicked on. Yeah, there is at this point, it's time to just be funny. I don't know if I even need to do, I'm trying to figure out what I need to do for shows, people. A special shout out to Cindy Sorensen, Barkley Sorensen. And that's what I'm doing for all of my divorced friends now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to use your maiden name, your married name, and then if you go back to your maiden name, I'm using all the names. So Cindy Sorensen, Barkley Sorensen, sent the nicest note saying she liked the biking podcast I did because it was chill. And when I'm trying to figure out what I can make money at as a comedian, and what I want in my soul is Tom Kelly. I kind of like the chill podcasts. I kind of like being easygoing. So how do you find the thin line between easygoing and not being too poor me? Lots of things going on that I could talk to you guys about. Oh, let's do a news story where we shout out you, the Tom Kelly Show fan. This question was asked on Facebook.com/TomKellyShow. McDonald's is releasing new Happy Meals for adults to recreate one of the most nostalgic experiences. And so, yeah, basically adult Happy Meals. Do you remember Happy Meals? For me, the Happy Meal was a big thing. Going to McDonald's was a big trip. When I lived in Brooklyn, there was, and I've talked about them before, there was the Sullivan family on the left, 7 boys. Their dad owned a roast beef place, Brennan and Carr. And then on the other side of our house, and these were all connected houses, was Mr. Sullivan's mom, Mrs. Sullivan, and Mr. Sullivan's aunt, Mrs. Dalton. Sometimes the Sullivans were so good to us that sometimes we would call Mrs. Sullivan Grandma Alice, and sometimes we would call Mrs. Dalton Aunt Marge. The family was just very, 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 very good to us. And Mrs. Dalton babysat my brother and I a lot, and she was very good to the youngest Sullivan son, Danny. And she would take us to walk down Avenue U, make a right on Nostrand Avenue, and we would walk to McDonald's and get the Happy Meal. And then Dad would, take us and get the Happy Meal. And the Happy Meal was such a joyous experience. So I could see where McDonald's, or I can't believe a fancy restaurant hasn't done this, where they come up with some sort of gimmick where they give you a box with a puzzle on the side and a movie theme or whatever, and they give you the burger, the fries, and a Coca-Cola. Nowadays, I think these sons of guns, they give you a burger and apple slices and a water. Yay. And I get it, man, diabetes, blah, 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 but the Happy Meal made me happy. As I earlier on the show, as part of my deleted Tom Kelly show, one of my cooking steps was making my Keurig coffee and then taking my morning pills. So maybe it's good that the Happy Meal is healthier, but I asked on Facebook.com/TomKellyShow, what would you put in an adult Happy Meal? Most of you said some form of liquor. Tammy Trinchetto, wine. R.C. Smith, steak and bourbon. Steve Lorette, a fun camera guy who I haven't seen in person in a while, he said, instead of a prize, I would put in a gift card for a better restaurant. Steve for the win. Brian Sheridan, Jack in the Box tacos. I have not been to a Jack in the Box. Andrew Singer, bring back the fajita and pizza. Okay, now this is where you can get into, again, why hasn't a fancy restaurant done a adult Happy Meal? Art Rubaclava, who I worked with on What Would You Do on ABC. He says, filet tips, loaded baked potato bites, and a cup of creamed spinach. Diana says, veal cutlet parm with roasted peppers. Good job there. Matt Farino, my old buddy, says, in his adult Happy Meal, a McRib and orangeade. Now, if you were going to do a best of for me, you're right. I mean, if you want to give me the ultimate, seasonal McDonald's Happy Meal for adults, it would be, here we go. McRib sandwich. Fries, I love the fries, or as Mrs. Dalton used to call them, potatoes. Instead of French fries, she'd call them potatoes. She'd be like 120 if she were still alive, but she would call them potatoes. And then I would put basically a McRib and a Shamrock Shake. How about that? How about that for a meal you only get once a year? Side thought, diverging from adult Happy Meal for a second, I read a great article on seasonal pumpkin spice lattes at Starbucks. And there was a whole big science of why they only give us pumpkin syrup in the fall. One, it evokes the memory of fall. Two, they say it's the diminishing returns. For every time you have a pumpkin spice latte, you like it less. And I think that applies to all seasonal food. Like if the McRib were around all year long, would you eat it? Probably not. So anyway, I diverge. Back to what would be in your adult Happy Meal. Caitlin McLeod, mermaid and real estate agent down in Weeki Wachee, Florida. Big Mac, extra sauce, no middle bun with a hash brown as a side. All right, that's not an adult Happy Meal. That you're just picking from the menu, Caitlin. Adult Happy Meal. Chicken tacos, street corn, and a margarita. Kelly Banks of KellyBanksCakes.com. There were one or two good ones in here before I go crazy. A lot of people put bourbon. Ed Hamilton said the truth. Ed Hamilton, who's also one of my friends down in Weeki Wachee, Florida, he said, nothing, because McDonald's is straight garbage and I try not to eat that crap. And Ed, I agree with you But why hasn't a different restaurant, like a high-end steakhouse, stolen this concept? For Al Tang, what would he put in his adult Happy Meal? Food from Wendy's. Good job. Good job there, Al Tang. And then Liz Deegan kind of diverges, health insurance. And then Enza Dolcinini says, instead of a drink, a mini wine bottle. That I could see. And then what was it? My other friend Lisa had a good one. Oh, Lisa had what I thought would be the best adult meal, Happy Meal. Sushi, cupcake, and a Magners. Kind of childlike, but kind of not. I had a few others on my own personal list here. Instead of prizes, you would get cigarettes, CBD, or gummies. Instead of prizes, you could get Bitcoin. That was the other one. Instead of prizes, Bitcoin. And then for more food, you would get lobster. And then for adult food, I'm rambling a bit here now. Lobster rolls, caviar, and I don't know why I put this in an adult Happy Meal. Put adult magazines. I'm rambling. Or there you go. Free babysitting. That's why they put up those little playgrounds. Actually, this is a story from a year ago. Oh, not a year ago, a few months ago. So my grandnephew turned 2. And I went to meet up with my nephew, my niece-in-law, and my grandnephew and a couple of friends. They were celebrating his birthday at McDonald's on the playground. They were doing a mini birthday. It's a long story, but they were doing a mini birthday for the kid. And I went to play on the playground with the 2-year-old, and the poor 16-year-old McDonald's employee, the poor kid, and just picture, I don't want to make fun of the girl because she was so good-hearted, but she was awkward McDonald's teen, like kid doing their first job. She just wants to make her fries. And there she sees a grown-up playing with a 2-year-old on the McDonald's playground. And she had to be the one to say, "Sir, please get off the playground." And I don't understand. I actually do understand why she did it. But, you know, because one, that's how you got to keep the kid touchers off the playground, blah, blah, blah. But I think leaving the 2-year-old up on the playground with the 10-year-olds was just as risky. But in the end, my grandnephew Miles did a good job. But the poor kid, when you talk about free babysitting being a part of the adult Happy Meal, that's why we have the playground. That's why they put in the playground. It was really a way to get the kids away from the adults so the moms and dads could talk to each other and drink a soda while the kids burned off the energy. I'm rambling, people. I'm rambling. I feel like there's got to be one last topic I want to talk about before I go. Oh, this is a dumb one that I could do right now. Sitting in the shower. This is from AskReddit.com. The question is, people who sit in the shower, why? And most of the answers were from older people who had different ranges of motion and migraines. And honestly, I sit in the shower whenever I have a cold. It feels nice. I can sit there, inhale the steam, even though I think the steam rises. It's just when you're tired and sick, it feels nice. And every time I sit in the shower with the hot water pouring over me, I always wonder why I don't do it more. Well, friends, here's the best surprise ending you're ever going to get for a podcast. Tom Kelly sitting in the shower. And here's why I don't sit in the shower more. All the soap is up there. So, until next time, good night, rubber duckies. Twist Ending Podcast. Twist Ending Podcast.